On Friday, May 13th, a lawyer for Young Thug filed an emergency motion with the Georgia Superior Court alleging that the rapper has been jailed in inhumane conditions and requesting he be granted an expeditious bond hearing or be placed in a non-torturous environment while behind bars. Life in prison. Specifically, the state of Georgia, by and through its public officials, has detained Mr. Williams in dungeon-like conditions, wrote attorney Brian Still in the filing. Young Thug's real name is Jeffrey Williams. Those conditions are said to consist of solitary confinement, total isolation, a windowless cement compartment with only a bed and a toilet and an overhead light, which remains on 24 hours per day, preventing any sleep, rest, or meditation. No access to any type of media, including TV or internet, and no opportunities to exercise, shower, or have human contact aside from his attorneys. Throughout the filing, Still reasserts Young Thug's innocence and slams prosecutors for quoting song lyrics to support the allegations against the rapper, which were included in a sprawling 88-page indictment filed against Young Thug and 27 others, including fellow rapper Gunna, on Monday, May 9th. To weaponize these words by charging overt acts to support a supposed conspiracy is unconscionable and unconstitutional pursuant to the U.S. Constitution as well as the Georgia State Constitution, Still writes. On Thursday, May 12th, lawyers for Gunna also criticized the use of song lyrics to back up charges against the rapper, warning it could lead to criminal charges against any artist with a song referencing violence, as others have previously argued. In the indictment, Young Thug is alleged to be one of the 3 founders of the Young Slime Life, a criminal street gang that started in late 2012 in Atlanta. Charges include preserving, protecting, and enhancing the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise through acts of racketeering activity, including assault and threats of violence. He was subsequently charged with 7 more felonies on Wednesday, May 11th, including possession of and illegal firearms based on items found at his home during his arrest earlier in the week. On Thursday, May 12th, a Fulton County judge denied the rapper bond based on the second round of charges brought after the indictment. In Friday's filing, Still claims that under Georgia state law, the allegations made against Young Thug in the May 9th indictment do not constitute any evidence of guilt, but rather contain nothing more than inadmissible, non-probative hearsay statements of the prosecutor bringing the charges. Still does not mention the subsequent charges filed against the rapper on Wednesday, which are technically separate from those listed in the indictment. One of the allegations listed in the indictment is that Young Thug rented a car that was later used in a 2015 drive-by incident that took out 26-year-old Donovan Thomas and wounded 2 others. But in the new filing, Still writes that there is no allegation by the grand jury that Mr. Williams had knowledge of this crime, had knowledge that this rented vehicle would be used in any supposed crime, or that Mr. Williams was a party to this supposed crime. As a result, Still continues, Young Thug is entitled to bond as a matter of law, given that he is not a convicted felon, a flight risk, a danger to the community, a risk to commit a felony while out on bond, or risk to obstruct justice by influencing witnesses or bribing jurors. In the filing, Still cites the case of Ayala versus State, which found that defendants meeting those criteria should be eligible for pretrial bond in the state of Georgia as precedent. Still adds that despite the fact that a motion for bond was filed on Tuesday, May 10th on Young Thug's behalf, the court has not yet scheduled a date for the hearing. This incarceration of an innocent man is unconscionable and cannot continue, he concludes. Lil Baby talks about Young Thug. Lil Baby is in especially high spirits heading into his Washington, D.C. tour stop with Chris Brown, and briefly clued us in on Gunna and Young Thug's moods, even though he interrupted his Future flow. The 4PF Records CEO kindly stopped his rapping rendition of Future's Back to the Basics Tuesday afternoon outside Reagan National Airport. We caught him right at the DC Sniped It line, so yeah, he was getting hyped for the Capital One Arena show. We asked if he had an update on how Thug and Gunna are holding up on the inside, and LB pumped the brakes on the lyrics. He assured us both YSL superstars are in good spirits and added a thumbs up, which is rarely faked in this day and age. Earlier in the week, Gunna was able to video call with some relatives, and a short clip posted online was filled with laughs, a good sign for sure. And just last week, Young Thug's sister says she paid him an in-person visit that yielded similar vibes. Young Thug surprises his girlfriend. Young Thug and Mariah the Scientist have been sparking date rumors for a while now. The rapper was even featured in Mariah's 2021 song Walked In its 2022 music video. Mariah the Scientist, aka Mariah Amani Buckles, and once again fueled all the rumors that she's dating Young Thug. The always and forever singer posted pictures of Young Thug's surprise for her on Twitter on Monday, August 1st. The 24-year-old singer showed off a hotel room decorated with heart-shaped balloons, rose petals, and an inflatable banner that had her new nickname, Mrs. Sold Out Dates. Couldn't ask for better, Mariah captioned the picture. Hip Hop DX reported that a follower questioned how Young Thug could have planned the surprise given that he is currently in jail. Young Thug's rumored girlfriend reportedly responded to the tweet by sharing another picture that sees a bed decorated with balloons and rose petals that says, "See you soon, love, Jeffrey," which is Young Thug's real name. Evidence against Young Thug. After his arrest and his 88-page indictment charges, Young Thug was also indicted on 7 more charges, and new information came out as to how the feds pinned him down. It turns out that Young Thug had been wiretapped for almost 5 years. The reason Young Thug got wiretapped was so the feds could pin a boss on the YSL camp with this messy situation. Reports claim that the 80-page RICO paperwork showed that Young Thug was indeed being investigated for multiple years. According to the paperwork, Thugger was on a wiretap discussing street activity. Some of these activities were revealed, and one of these conversations presented in the indictment read, defendants Marquavius Huey and Jeffrey Williams, associates of YSL, did engage in a conversation where Williams and Huey were discussing a vehicle theft, and Williams directs Huey to tell another, if he doesn't take it back, he gon' die. An overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Although there was no context in the section, one of the charges levied against Young Thug was renting a car that was allegedly stolen and used in the event. The indictment cited another instance that showed that Young Thug is the boss of the gang, and he gave out permission for all the dirty business the gang members carried out. The paragraph reads, defendants Winnie Lee, Trontavia Stevens, and Jeffrey Williams, associates of YSL, did engage in conversation where Williams stated, YSL rule the world, kid, 24M on a head. Y'all just start bringing me the money. Man, y'all stop playing with me. An overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Another paragraph showed a conversation where Young Thug told one of his associates that they were getting soft because they hadn't beaten up anybody. Associates of YL did engage in the conversation where Williams asks, y'all ain't beating them up or got them yet? Then states, y'all getting soft. Young Thug denied bond. Before speaking up to get Young Thug out of jail due to his living conditions in there, Young Thug and his legal team had previously applied to be released on bond, which they were denied. Barely 48 hours after Young Thug was booked at Fulton County Jail, he made his first appearance before a virtual court to determine whether he would be released on bond. Unfortunately, the rapper's bond application was denied. On Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, Young Thug was denied bond at a hearing following his Monday indictment that charged him with felony conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, or RICO Act. At the hearing, which was held virtually under the jurisdiction of Fulton County Magistrate Court Judge Robert Wolf, the magistrate stated that he could only rule on bond in the case of the 7 new felony charges, as the initial indictment is under the purview of Fulton County Superior Court. To top it off, the state's prosecutor recommended that Young Thug be denied bond, arguing that he poses a flight risk due to his considerable resources. He also held that Young Thug poses a clear risk to hinder the administration of justice, as not all 28 of the men charged under the initial indictment have been apprehended. Defense attorney Brian Steele told the court that Young Thug had deep ties with the Atlanta community and therefore did not pose a flight risk, also recounting Young Thug's full compliance with the search of his home on Monday, during which Steele was present. He further noted that Young Thug has never been convicted of a felony and implied that the open felony case against him resulted from and firearms found during a traffic stop that was sorted out 4 years ago. Finally, he referred to Young Thug's worldwide popularity, calling him the Babe Ruth of the music industry. Based on these factors, he asked the courts to grant Young Thug a signature bond, which does not require the deposit of any money or property as collateral. Judge Wolf, however, remained on the side of the state, denying Young Thug bond on the grounds of his flight risk, and adding that he also would pose a risk of committing additional felonies if he were released. Citing the 4-year 5-year-old open case. Steele argued that Wolf's ruling would set a precedent for the Superior Court to deny bond. Wolf disagreed. "I'm only making a decision today based on what's in front of me now," he said. Young Thug trial. Starting with the easiest and clearest part of things, the judge has already put a date on his calendar for a trial to begin. It's 6 months out from now, on January 9th, 2023. Is that date set in stone? Not necessarily. It could happen sooner, the judge said Thursday. He would do my level best to make sure this case gets tried as expeditiously as possible. If I can get it on the calendar before the 9th of January, I will endeavor to do so. It could also happen later. It's impossible to foresee all the sorts of holdups that could delay a trial, but they tend to emerge in complicated legal proceedings. Even his bond hearing was delayed. Prosecutors filed a motion to disqualify his defense attorney, Brian Steele, alleging a potential conflict of interest that took up several hours of court proceedings when the case came back before the judge on Thursday. That, for instance, is something that could resurface, with the judge saying he had concerns about the potential conflict and could reevaluate his decision to allow Steele to proceed representing Young Thug. If the judge were to disqualify Steele, that's the kind of thing that would set back a trial date.